if you're like me, you've probably heard a ton of discussion around AI agents. And ultimately, I wanted to see for myself what an agent could do, how easy it was to make one. Could I make one that is something that's much better than something that I could accomplish through a ChatGPT discussion? Equally, I didn't want to go down this route of, a 100 node N8N agent system with all these integrations that I don't know if you've seen these photos of agents with all these integrations. So I wanted to see if there was a middle ground, and the middle ground that I came across for exploring this was through a YouTube tutorial from Indie Dev Dan, who has created this idea of a infinite agent system. So infinite parallel agent system. So an agent that can do continuous amounts of works, iterating on itself, and ultimately in parallel. So if you think of ChatGPT as running a single thread, can we launch 10 ChatGPTs to do this by itself? So to do this, I wanted to do something outside of coding because a lot of agent work seems to be around development experience that I've seen anyway. So I wanted to see if I could set up a parallel agent system to help make social media content. And for this, I've got to give a big shout out to Shaan from My First Million. He hosted a power writing course a couple of years ago, which I took and really enjoyed. And I remembered in that course that there were these 8 types of emotions that Shaan talks about. So I thought, well, 8 different types of emotion, that's great. That could be 8 agents creating content based on each of those emotions. So to build this, I did use Claude Code inside of Cursor, which is a code editor that you're probably familiar with. I didn't actually use too much of the Cursor features. I used predominantly Claude Code. So to start, what I did was I downloaded the course content from this power writing course. So in this case, there's just 6 PDFs, but a really good example of something that immediately would just become more challenging in ChatGPT. Yes, you can upload PDFs and get ChatGPT to analyze the content, but if this got to much more material, so maybe 50 PDFs or different images or types of content that you really like for this agent system to reference, that's going to be really complicated in ChatGPT. So having these files already in Cursor here is a great place to start and a great reason to use an agentic system over ChatGPT. But I didn't want the pure PDFs, so I just had Claude Code actually convert them into a readable format, so extract all the text, and then actually got Claude to come up with lessons, takeaways, and summaries from each of the lessons. So this way I can feed this into each agent rather than having them analyze and extract PDF data. From there, this is where I really went into the tutorial from Indie Dev Dan. In this case, pulling the prompt from his infinite UI agent and ultimately started to break this down into something that I could use to create content. I, of course, used Claude Code to actually analyze this example from Indie Dev Dan and gave it all of the kind of parameters and thought process that I wanted my content agent to do. So what I ended up with was an agent system which is able to launch multiple agents to create specific type of social media content based on content type. So is this for Twitter, a blog, a landing page, or YouTube, or an email? You can set character limits, and ultimately what this agent system will do is launch 8 agents, one for each emotion that I've got listed here. So there's like a LOL agent for humor, WTF for more outrage, controversy, so on and so forth. So it's going to launch these 8 agents and make a copy or content based on a initial type of copy. So in this case, the core message that I've got is about me learning about AI agents. So it takes this core message, and then each agent is going to apply the emotion and power writing techniques to come up with content around this prompt. And then finally, there's going to be an agent which ultimately evaluates all the copy that was created just to make sure it is actually suitable for posting. So I fired up Claude Code, which you can see here, and what I'll do is I'll grab the prompt to actually launch this. So this is a command. So I can go into the terminal here, paste this, so it opens up this markdown document. It's going to reference the copy in this file, copy base. So that's where I've given it, hey, I want to talk about AI agents and my learning journey there. I want it to be in tweet format, 280 character maximum. I want 2 variations of each, so the agent should come up with 2 options, and I want to put it in an outputs folder. So I'm going to start running this, and what's great here is that output folder is a really big separation for why I think this agentic approach is far superior to then something like ChatGPT. ChatGPT, you're going to have to copy and paste all of the outputs as they kind of come through, manipulate them in ChatGPT or a Google Doc. But given I'm working in Cursor, even though it is technically for software engineers, it's going to create these individual content files in Cursor, and then I can directly manipulate them inside of here and use AI to actually do that. But yeah, if we jump into what's happening here, so you can see Claude Code, reads the command and creates a list of to-do tasks that it's going to execute, as it's actually essentially an agent itself. So we can see here it breaks down into phases. So phase 1 is load the power writing styles. Continuation of phase 1, read and analyze the copy or the theme of the content. From there, sorry, it's getting a bit, the agents are working. But yeah, essentially from there, we will ultimately, there we go. From there, we'll deploy the 8 agents, one for each emotion style, and then deploy 3 evaluation sub-agents once those are complete. That will actually help evaluate the content and then ultimately move that all into one file. So as we can see the step-by-step breakdown that Claude's just doing automatically given the prompt. So we can see that it's found the writing style documents, it's found the copy, and now it's ultimately reading that and building up the context. So from there, now that it's got the full context of the situation, the next step that it's going to do here is create the outputs folder. So you can see here on the left, when I click this outputs, that's folder wasn't there recently, but now it is, and you can see that it's empty. So that's that making it there. And now this is where it comes into stage 2, which is deploying the 8 content agents. And we can see each of these tasks is essentially a new AI agent, which has a task to use the writing style that we've provided to generate base copy based on an emotion that gets passed in. meets a character limit and a number of iterations. So you can see that, yeah, it's launched all 8 tasks there. And now Claude, given it's the first time I'm kind of running this, I've got to approve that it can create these files. And we can see that it's created those 4 files there. And now it's just going to do that automatically. So in this case, we can see it's already generated quite a few pieces of content. So in this case, this is for the laugh out loud or the humorous content style. So we can see here, and we can see its second iteration here. So yeah, it looks like it only actually launched 4 agents. So maybe there's a memory issue or a usage issue, which kind of slowed down its ability to launch all the agents, but it understands that and is ultimately now launching the final 4 agents there. So I didn't have to do any intervention. Like, it knew what it needed to do, and that was create the final 4 agents. And we should start seeing those pieces of content appear very shortly. So it's reading them. Here we go. Agent 8, Agent 6, 5. So 7 is popping in there. So again, all this content is now populating, and it's all essentially meeting the criteria that we've set based on the parameters that we passed into this prompt. As it wraps this up, now we should get a message of showing that it's going to launch the evaluation agents, and it's going to do the same. So now it's completed phase 2. There we go. Develop 3 evaluation sub-agents to actually evaluate and see if this content's any good. So again, a big differentiator to ChatGPT, where, you know, ChatGPT will produce content and then you'll have to ask for it to be evaluated. But right now we're able to launch 3 sub-agents automatically, which will start to evaluate all of this content here. And yeah, that's part of this phase 3 in the initial command, where it's deploying those agents. Something that you could consider here is trying to have the iterations actually be evaluated immediately after they've been created, and then create the next iteration of content based on the evaluation. And that's probably what I'm going to do in my next video. But here, I just wanted to break it down so we can see that the agent's kind of doing its task. The first thing is we can see these, the agent is creating success files and also failed content files. So if we come into sub-agent 1, we can see the 3 or 4, 5, 6 pieces of content that it evaluated to meet the criteria of good content that we kind of set through. And in this case, all of the content it evaluated passed, which is why there's no failed content sub-agent. But if we look to sub-agent 2, yeah, this looks to be a couple more passed. It doesn't have the formatting to kind of break them down as it did in this one. So it's kind of missing that. It's not perfect, but obviously this is something we can iterate on just as you would with a prompt. But we can see in the failure ones a couple of, 2 failed pieces of content from sub-agent 2. From there, the agent is going to break down the content into a final success file. So now I can see all of the content which passed my criteria, and I can essentially start posting this to social media. Equally, I can see the rejected reasons. So this is an example of something that you could pass back into the agent as an example to help it write better content on the first go next time, which again is going to be difficult in ChatGPT. And then finally, we've got this evaluation summary. So this is where we can see kind of what we just discovered there, where, some of the agents on their first attempt had 100% pass rate. Some of them failed, like the WOW failed both iterations failed to meet our evaluation standards. And it's got, these analysis for what happened there. And this is where, kind of like I said, an agent system that exists in something like Cursor with Claude Code is going to be superior to ChatGPT, where I could essentially pass this summary file back in, or create a new agent that takes the summary file and helps improve either the prompt or improves the outputs for next time. And from here, just a lot more capability to edit this versus ChatGPT. So I think this is a great micro tool, and good exploration of an agent which generated how many pieces of content? 13 kind of tweet options based on an idea that I can now use and edit for or use and share on social media. So good little introduction. I know I skipped over a lot, but hopefully this was an example that was a bit of a primer for how you might think about agents and what agents might be useful for in the future. I think for most people, this will be wrapped into a website or a web app or a front end that you can interact with, so you don't need to do this. But if you are willing to spend a bit of time and think about how can you use something that's traditionally meant for a software engineer for something that helps you out at your job. In this case, it did it all for us. Took 5 minutes to generate all this, and you can run that and build content, in this case, around whatever you'd like automatically, thanks to this AI agent. Thanks, and see you later.